Joining me now from our bureau in New York City, former New York City Police Commissioner Bernard Kerik. Bernie, any doubt in your mind that some of these politicians, whether you want to name them or not, I will, Bill de Blasio, the mayor, some of these politicians are fomenting an anti-police officer environment in New York City?
No, listen, I have to agree with the unions on this one, and I think it dates back prior to the mayor. Look at when he was campaigning, right? He sat his son up, who's a young black male at the time, and said, I've taught my son from the time he was little, he had to be afraid of cops. You know, if he came in contact with cops, he would be in danger. This is the same mayor that has stood by, deathly silent, as there were Antifa and Black Lives Matter protests walking throughout the city, ranting, raving, violent, calling for the death of cops. There was no after, press conference where the mayor said, this is wrong, this shouldn't have happened. These people should be locked up when they violate the law. You know, 3 weeks ago, we had 200 or 300 people storm the mass transit system, calling for the death of cops and calling for the removal of cops from the New York City mass transit system, bogarting their way into the system, violating the law. How many arrests were made? None. You know, and lastly, this is the most important for me. You've had 2 or 3 different cop killers, assassins, men that were involved in the Black Liberation Army and the Black Panther Party back in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s, paroled by the governor of this state, by Governor Cuomo, and this mayor never stood up screaming and yelling that it shouldn't have happened. So if you're not going to support the cops, you know, if you're not going to back them, if you're not going to endorse them in a real manner, not where you hold a press conference and say, oh yeah, I'm big on supporting the police. Well, you know what? Your actions don't show that, and I think the unions get it, the cops get it, and that's what the dissension is all about.
First Amendment right is one thing, but these elected officials, these politicians have a duty to stand up for law and order and the civil society, and that is what the police officers represent in every city across this country. I want to play a soundbite for you from Patrick Lynch. He's the president of the Police Officers Union. You may know him. Roll tape.
Well, we have to stop relying on luck. Some of the same elected officials that are standing at that podium today are talking about how lucky we are. Well, sometimes it's their words that are causing this. We talk about the protesters that are yelling, we want dead cops. Those words meant something, and people listen, and they try to kill cops. But who's leading them? Some of the elected officials that stand here today nodding their heads when we speak are the ones that's leading those crowds, leading those demonstrators, putting the words in those protesters' mouth. Well, now it's real. 12 hours, 2 cops shot.
Think back to 8 years of Barack Obama, who would say one thing, but his policies went in a different direction. That seems to me what de Blasio is doing here. And in the end, Bernie, this is up to the voters of New York. The people of New York have got to be paying attention right here, right now.
You know, sometimes the voters of New York City, they're asleep at the wheel. You know, they reelected this guy after 4 years of failures. So you have to wonder. But you know what? Historically, from 1994 on, we learned a lesson, and that is the voters of New York City, they will act and respond when New York City is about to implode, because that was what was going on back in 1994. New York City had the highest crime rates in its history. Real estate values were at all-time lows. Economic development was at all-time lows. Tourism was all-time lows. It wasn't until Giuliani came in and changed the dynamic of violent crime and murder, reduced violent crime by 65%, reduced murder by 70%, supported the cops, backed the cops. Then and only then did New York City start to change. So, you know, maybe it's going to take for, you know, the extreme negative to happen before these people wake up and vote this guy out of office, or, you know, impeach him, or get somebody in office that's going to back and support them.
Right, because that's how this ends. You know, it's a stark choice. In the end, again, it's up to the voters of New York. Do they want to put these 1960s radicals in high office like this, or do they want to have a pro-law and order leadership in New York City. Bernie, thank you.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.